Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
All right, Vikings Vent Line every Sunday right here on the Purple Daily YouTube channel. Hit that like button and subscribe button for daily Vikings entertainment. If you're unfamiliar with this show, that is Vikings Vent Line. Every week I like to bring on and talk to as many Vikings fans throughout the season as possible, but I like to bring on a couple fans each week to get their thoughts on the season, the off-season, plenty of different things. So if you'd like to be a part of this show, if you have takes on the Vikings, hit me up and you want to be on it. It's vikingsventline@gmail.com. That's the invite. Send me an invite. I have a list of people that I do contact every week to get people on the show. So if this is something you'd like to be a part of, hit me up. It's vikingsventline@gmail.com. And Vikings Vent Line always powered by our friends at Standard Heating and Air. So if any of those HVAC and furnace needs, if those things are on the fritz, if you have no idea what you're looking at, don't go to the DIY for that. Instead, call our experts at Standard Heating and Air. They can take a look at everything, make sure it's all ship shape, and have you on your way. Plus, they have great benefits like the Smart Club, which will give you discounted on repairs, priority booking in the event something goes wrong, too. So they have a lot of great things. Plus, they are the presenting sponsor of the Purple Daily Draft Party at the Fillmore here in a couple weeks. So shout out to Standard Heating and Air. Also, a shout out to Roku and Two Men and a Truck for helping put on that draft party presented by Standard Heating and Air Conditioning. All right, let's get our guys in here. Let's get Cullen and Justin here in on Vikings Vent Line. Cullen, you and I were talking off mic. Nice to have a Cullen and Declan experience here. Nice little Irish connection here.
Perfect.
Always love that. And
Excellent.
then Justin, that's still fine. I think that might be Irish. Let's loop Justin in here, right? There's no reason to exclude Justin. Appreciate that. Justin, where are you located? Where are you calling from?
I'm right in Plymouth here in Minnesota.
Okay, you're in Plymouth, and then Colin, you're in Eau Claire. Did you grow up in Minnesota and you became a Vikings fan in Wisconsin? Were you rooted in Wisconsin and became a Vikings fan? How'd you become a Vikings fan?
I grew up in Wisconsin, but I grew up like a half a mile or a half an hour from the border. Okay. And my grandpa grew up in Minnesota. So we're right on that Minnesotan sort of border where it's kind of split 50-50. Eau Claire is 100% Packer country now.
Yeah.
That's where I live now. But yeah, I grew up Viking fan my whole life.
So would you have to go to a bar? Do you just watch at home? Like, is there not even an option in the public outside of like a Vikings-Packers game or not a primetime game to watch a game there?
They honestly do a really, really good job of letting you be able to watch almost all the games. And if the game isn't on, I have enough friends who like the Vikings in town where we find a place together.
Nice. That's very good. Well, guys, let's start things off here. Justin, I'll start off with you here. Vikings have had a pretty nice offseason. They're coming off a successful year with Sam Darnold, now turning things over to J.J. McCarthy. How many games do you have the Vikings winning in 2025?
I think for me, it's really going to come down to the health in the trenches. I really liked all the additions we made on both sides. Hargrave, I know he's coming off that the injury. Fries with a broken leg. From what I've heard, they're both sounding pretty good. But I think if we can stay healthy, I put us around that 10 win, maybe 11.
Yeah, I think they're over-unders at 8.5. 10 wins probably seems like the safe bar to have. Anything less than that, they're either going through health issues like you're talking about, or they just are ineffective, which hopefully that's not the case in 2025. I think 10, 11 wins is probably fair, given what they've tried to do this offseason. I guess everything really does hinge on J.J. McCarthy. But Colin, how about you? What do you think? What type of win total do you have in mind for the Vikings this year?
I can't agree with you guys. I got to go 12. Okay. Right?
I hope you're right.
Yeah. It also, it's clearly the hardest division in football and will remain that way. Every team in the division, other than probably the Packers, got better, I think. But still, every decision they made in the offseason just was like, wow. I was so impressed with everything that's happened so far. Even if only half the new signings work out, that's still an upgrade everywhere with the team. So as long as JJ is everything we think and they say he is, 12. Let's go 12.
Love that. Yeah, in the division, so for you, Colin, is Detroit still the top team? Do you have the Vikings as the top team in the NFC North for 2025?
It's still Detroit until it's proven otherwise. I think with the new signings, the Vikings look better on paper as long as JJ is who we say he is. But Yeah, it's still Detroit. Detroit won last year. Detroit looks great. They're going to be tough to beat. They did lose their coordinator. That could be a big deal. We'll see.
What about the Bears, Justin? Do you buy anything the Bears are doing, or is it kind of like the opposite of the Lions? Like you have to see it on paper, see it on the field before you see everything on paper?
I think there's some truth to that. I mean, they fortified that interior offensive line a lot this offseason. I guess if Williams can get the ball out fast enough, and I'm curious to see what's going to happen with Genty. I think if Genty goes to the Bears at 10, I think that's going to make them a lot better too. So I think they're going to be better. How much better? I think time's going to tell, especially with the draft.
Yeah, it definitely is probably the toughest division in football. I mean, will they have 3 teams potentially going again in the playoffs? Like it certainly feels that way. The NFC isn't really, I think, stacked as it once was. So there's definitely a path where probably 2, if not 3 teams from the North will go to the postseason. So Justin, you mentioned the draft there for the Bears. If they get Genty, that should be a pretty good pick for them potentially. How would you like the Vikings to approach this year's draft? Do you kind of want them to just stick at 24? Do you have any ideas in mind? How would you like them to approach the draft?
I think it's going to depend who's available at 24. I really want to. I know the defensive tackle draft is deep this year, but there's a couple guys up top like Derek Harmon. I know what I've been hearing, the Vikings are pretty high on him. I'm high on him too. Also, I'm a big Kenneth Grant guy. I don't know if Flores. From what I've seen, he doesn't seem like he's got much for the big nose tackle kind of guys in the middle of his trenches. So I don't know if he's a Flores guy, but if he is, I'm all for Kenneth Grant in the middle too. But if we trade back, I mean, Donovan Jackson, the guard, big fan of him too.
Do you think there's a path where they just get out of the first round entirely? I know it'll be a buzzkill the day of, but do you think there's a path that they actually do trade out of the first round?
I think that I'm guessing they probably want to stay in the first, keep that 5th-year option, depending upon who they take. If they go out of the first, I don't think it is going to be much beyond 35, personally.
Sure. Colin, how about you? They've had this great offseason, to your point. What do you want to see them do in the draft this year?
They've had really good luck in the second half of the first round, it seems. And so the positions that I'd like them to, if they stay in the first round, you go safety, you go corner, or you go wide receiver. Otherwise, trade out. I mean, I'd love to get Derek Harmon. I get it, but Hargrave and Allen, I mean, come on. We're set. Let's just try to win now and try to win big. That's how I feel. And you can get those like backup positions later in the rounds and trading back into the 6th and 7th, and you can get good interior offensive linemen. You can find some diamonds in the rough, so to speak. And it's a roster where diamonds in the rough are fine.
Right. So with Kwesi kind of having a mixed bag of draft results so far, I mean, the first one was obviously it's been a disaster. Didn't pan out.
Yeah.
But there's been some highlights, obviously, with Addison and hopefully McCarthy, and they've gotten some nice role players in here. I mean, do you still have full trust in Kwesi, Cullen? Are you still good with Kwesi? Do you have any trepidations or questions about him, or are you good with him kind of being locked up as a GM here beyond 2025 into 26 and from there out?
I have less faith in him drafting than I do the free agents. I think he took calculated risks getting free agents, which are really smart, and I was happy with all of them. This is kind of the make or break draft for me, I guess. I don't know. I feel like one of the players they want is going to fall to 24. Is that where they're picking? 24?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. One of the players that we were all thinking, one of the safeties is probably going to be there, I'm thinking. So I don't know. Just don't make the same mistake with you did last time you drafted a safety.
I think that's the PTSD that kicks in, right?
Right.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Is like even though like cornerback's an option, but like the Vikings have drafted like 5 cornerbacks in the first round in the last 11, 12 years, and fans got like sick of it. I don't think it's as apathetic as it was like a few years ago, but that could still be a path. But same thing, you hear safety end of the first round, and your first thing is to go back to Lewis Cine 3 years ago, and you're like, no, well, don't do that again.
Yeah.
So that could be a disaster. But Colin or Justin, excuse me, are you good with Kwesi still being the GM of the Vikings after this year?
I think so. Like you said, he's been great in free agency, and he's actually been quite good in the undrafted group too. I think this year is gonna be tough to see if you only have 4 picks. You hit on one, it's a better hit rate, but if it's tough to say. But I think overall, I'd keep him. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like obviously KOC got the contract extension. It feels like Kwesi's contract extension likely is coming soon too, maybe even before the draft here in a few weeks, just a few weeks away. But I mean, they've hitched their wagon metaphorically to both these guys, and I think to maybe blow out Kwesi or not give him the opportunity to get a contract extension after what he's been able to help build here would be kind of probably pretty counterproductive. So yeah, I trust him too. I think they'll probably get a long-term deal done. One more question, or before I get to the next question here, any other offseason things, Justin, that really like stood out to you that you've liked so far that the Vikings have done? I know their free agent class has been awesome, but is there anything that they've done this year that you really like, or that you're maybe even excited to see in 2025 when the season does start?
Yeah, I think for me the biggest thing was just how busy they've been with the big names in the free agency. I mean, we all knew these like you take one interior offensive line, one interior defensive line guy, and kind of go from there. But to walk away with Fries, Kelly, and even the defensive side too, I think it blew everybody away of how busy they've been. But yeah, I think overall he's been hitting a lot of needs, and just the fact that we can go into the draft basically going BPA. I feel like it's been a while since we've truly been able to go in a BPA mindset.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, they've usually had to reach at positions that they maybe shouldn't be drafting at, so that part's huge. Colin, how about you? Anything you're looking forward to seeing actually on the field here? I know the offseason's been great, but anything on the field you're really excited to see from this year's team?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think we all agree that if they hadn't done anything with the offensive line or the defensive line, we would have been very upset. So even though they did good work there, it's like, yeah, we expected that, right? I think Okudah and Mason are the big moves that I'm very, very excited about. Okudah could be great. He's had some really bad luck. It's such a low risk, high reward thing. And getting Mason is just when he was healthy last year, he was one of my favorite guys to watch play. He's awesome. So I'm really, really excited to have him in purple. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I think Mason Jones makes them a pretty decent tandem there. Yeah, and he's so young and still, even though he's battled some injuries, when he's been on the field, he's been damn effective. So hopefully they have solved that running game post Dalvin Cook, which would be huge. One last thing for you guys. What was your favorite moment from last year? Obviously, they highlighted us, and they gave us this huge season out of completely nowhere. I know it ended poorly, but what was the highlight for you, Justin, of the 2024 season?
I think for me, it was that big 97-yard touchdown pass to Jefferson. The huge play, and then the part I really liked too was Speedy Naylor coming from nowhere on that last-second block to finish it off. That was my favorite part of it.
Yeah, that was those first two games when obviously like they win the first game against the Giants, which they were expected to do, and then it was like, oh man, Niners and Texans, like two playoff teams, two teams that were considered maybe the top teams in their conference or at least near it. And you're like, man, if they can just survive 1-1, you take it. And then they basically dominated both those teams. Like I think the score in was it the Texans game it looked a little closer than it was, but in reality, like they were in control of that game. So yeah, that kind of I think was the first like, oh, this is for real here. This is gonna be a really fun year. Colin, how about you? What was a highlight for you last season?
That was my 1B. That's a very good pick. But Van Ginkel, London, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
I tend to be pretty in the pocket when I'm watching a game. I try to be really controlled, but I stood up and I laughed and I laughed and I laughed. That was so fun to watch. That was so thrilling. It was amazing. That was my favorite play of the year by far.
Yeah, man, he had like two other chances this year for pick sixes that just were bobbled in his hands. It's crazy that, and Judd and other people have talked about he works on that in practice. Like it's a thing he is aware of and he's conscious of. And I know there's only one position that's wide receiver, and some guys cannot be wide receivers. Some guys are just DBs or defensive players. But he had two other chances for huge pick sixes. Yeah, there was some awesome highlights. I think obviously the Falcons' butt kicking was also sweet. It was kind of a culmination of a full circle moment. I know Kirk was hurt in that game, but it was also a pretty cool thing to see. Yeah, there was a lot of highlights. The Seahawks game was obviously remarkable with that comeback. Yeah, a bad ending, classic Vikings ending. However, a very magic carpet ride year, which is always super fun.
The last 2 years have just been so fun. I mean, let's just be real. I mean, we're Vikings fans. We're all sad all the time, but the last 2 years, they've been great. They've been great.
Been very memorable, very fun. Hey, before we wrap up, Justin, any other last hottest takes you'd like to give off? Any shout outs you have here on Vikings Vent Line? The floor is yours.
I think I don't know if it's a hot take, but I think the number of sacks from the interior defensive line, I think last year we had 3 or 4, if I remember right. I think we're going to at least double that and get in that, 8, maybe even 10 if we're lucky this year, which will make a huge difference. And I think if we can get that pressure and sacks from the interior of the defensive line, hopefully the linebackers can actually drop back a bit more this year and kind of help out the DBs. So I think if we can get that interior pressure, I think the defense will be even more scary this year.
Totally.
And then I think for shout-outs, mostly my girlfriend for putting up with all my Vikings and football talk all the time. And then probably just my close friends and family, the fantasy football group. I think I'm probably the biggest football guy in the group. Everyone comes to me with questions. So thank them for putting up with it all.
Always got to thank your the wives, girlfriends, husbands, etc. for dealing with all of the craziness that is the Vikings fan. My wife is luckily a crazy Vikings fan like me. It doesn't get as animated as I do. I mean, Colin, you said you're mostly reserved. Shockingly, even though I'm lucky to talk about the Vikings for a living. If it's a Sunday, I'm still screaming at the TV, positively or negatively, doing a kick in the living room when a first down, big play happens. I'm all about that. How about you though?
Before, I'm not saying I don't do
it. Oh
yeah,
yes. Just as you get a little older, right? You get a little bit more reserved. Right. Any last takes or shout outs for you, Colin?
Well, I live in Packer country, so it's always nice to talk to other people who share my point of view. I'm very, very hyped for this season. If JJ is who we say we are, I think we're a top 3 team in the league. I will give you this. At the beginning of last season, I was sitting at the bar with a couple of buddies who are all Packer fans, and I said these 3 things. I said, I think Sam Darnold's better than people think he is. I think the fact that we have Aaron Jones is going to make our running game so much better when it was terrible last year. And another year in Brian Flores' system is going to make us kind of scary on defense. And everything I said came true.
Yeah.
So I don't have any predictions yet. It's too early.
Sure.
But I'm very, very excited. I think it's going to be a great season. Really looking forward to it. Shout out to my friends Carl and Sam, the 2 biggest Viking fans I know. We even go to Miller Park every year to see a Brewers game, and we still do the Dante roll whenever the Twins score, and people laugh and they have a good time with us. It's a wonderful thing.
I love it. Well, yeah, keep representing the purple in enemy territory there, Colin. Appreciate that. Justin, great takes as well. Vikings Vent Line every weekend here on the Purple Daily YouTube channel. If you want to be on a future episode, hit me up. It's vikingsventline@gmail.com. Purple Daily, daily Vikings entertainment, where we just want to see the Vikings win a Super Bowl before we die.